I work in a really interesting area of Cisco. Typically, when you interact with people from Cisco, they're either going to be in the engineering organization, building products, or in the sales organization, helping companies apply technology to solve problems. I work in corporate social responsibility. And what that means is, as a company, we not only want to supply the best technology in the world to solve business problems and people's problems, we want to be the best company in the world in terms of addressing societal problems and critical human needs and improve society in the places where we live, the places where we act. And so I want to spend just a couple minutes talking about that because our corporate social responsibility aspects is where we've derived and delivered the Networking Academy program. Many of you are Networking Academy students, whether you knew it or not. It's a Cisco program, which DeVry is one of the largest implementers of Cisco Networking Academies in the world. And there are many other students around the world participating in that program as well. There are a lot of big, daunting global problems that we see, from unemployment, and in particular youth unemployment around the world, being 70+ million young people who are having a hard time finding meaningful employment wherever they may live, into climate change and the impacts that have on not only our weather and our environment, but also on our businesses and insurance industries and construction and supply and demand for rebuilding and handling problems when they occur. Economic inequality, there's a large number of people in the world that are not connected. They're not on the internet. There's 7 billion people. Nowhere near that many people are actually connected and accessing technology to help solve their problems. And then into things like water scarcity, where just being able to access clean water is not something available to everyone. We walked in the room, we had like 700 bottles of water ready for you. That's more clean water than a lot of societies can see in a month. So these problems exist, and for our part, we want to try to accelerate global problem solving by applying technology to those solutions, by enabling people to apply technology to solve problems, and by helping them grow in their use of technology and their invention with technology to scale that impact. We look at it in 3 areas. We look at people, we look at societies, we look at the planet. In terms of people, we want to help people around the world reach their full potential. That applies to you. We do what we do in Networking Academy because we want you to reach your full potential. So my team builds the Networking Academy courses that you learn routing and switching if you're in one of those courses today. And we try to make that as rich and thorough an experience as we can. And we want more of that to happen. There's currently 1.1 million students in the world taking Networking Academy courses. Well beyond DeVry, and well in the 165 countries all over the world, people are taking these courses every day. We want to see that expand. We have over 1.4 million people have told us that as a result of participating in Networking Academy, they've improved their lives through meaningful employment, finding a job, getting a better job. And these are how we track our success. Cisco certainly is a large company with tens of billions of dollars in revenue every year. It's an astronomical figure. But we also spend hundreds of millions of dollars every year trying to make the world a better place. In society, we're very proud to scale our impact through equipment donation, through a number of different programs that we run to help society improve in various areas around the world. Some of the statistics here, $300 million just in equipment donation every year, 25,000 employees completing human rights training everywhere in the world. And these are important aspects to us. And then on the people side, on the planet side, our environmental impact as a company is something we spend a lot of time thinking about. We build computing systems in metal boxes with metal and welding and soldering and circuitry, and they have a lifespan. Maybe they only work for 5 years. And what do you do with them afterwards? How do you improve your global footprint? So currently, 77% of our global electricity use as a company is from renewable energy sources. And we have resourced, taken back, and properly disposed of and recycled over 12,000 tons of Cisco equipment over the years. So all I'm trying to say here is, as a company, we're very focused on not just technology for technology's sake, but how technology can be applied to improving the station that people have in the world. Our biggest focus on that is through education. Most of you are students. Most of the people in the audience are students, and watching around the world are students, around the country are students. And I remember when I was a student, you think, well, okay, what does that mean to me? What am I supposed to do with this? Great, you're doing great things, but I'm in class every day, and I've got to figure out how to pass the next exam, how to get through the next course, what my grade's going to be. And while that's happening, while you're studying, it seems like everything is changing. Everything around you is changing from a technology standpoint. So you hear these terms: digital transformation, digitization, IoT, which no one will admit it, but some of you didn't know what IoT meant. It means the Internet of Things. And I want to talk a little bit about what that means, what that looks like, and more specifically, what it means to you. So we do a lot of studies of finding out how technology impacts the world and what's going to happen next. Everybody wants to know what's going to happen next. What's the next technology wave? What's the next technology application? What's the next thing I need to be worried about in terms of learning? And the most amazing thing about this space of IoT is that it's really unprecedented from both a speed of use and adoption, as well as its scale of impact. Almost all of you are already participating in the Internet of Things. I noticed, I paid attention when you guys came in, almost all of you are carrying a smartphone. That smartphone is one of the most powerful IoT devices in existence. It's one of the most powerful communication devices ever created. It's one of the most powerful computing platforms ever invented. And it fits in your hand, and you carry it everywhere you go. How many of you checked in when you got here? Yeah. How many of you have posted something in social media since you sat down? This is all application of the Internet of Things. I'm going to talk about where it goes from here. But think about what's happening in other areas. Internet traffic will be 92 times more voluminous by 2020 than it is today. There are currently a little over 1.2 billion websites, registered, reachable websites. It's estimated that somewhere between 400 and 550 times more information not indexed on the web. That means that you can't find it on a Google search. It's there, but it's buried beneath other places. It's behind corporate firewalls. It's in places where it's not directly accessible. But out of 1.2 billion sites, you're looking at another 500 potentially times more information in other locations. Now, there's 7 billion people in the world. How many people do you think are actually connected to the Internet today? 1 billion? 2 billion? 3 billion? A little over 2 billion people connected. Of those 1.2 billion sites, you have roughly, on average, 3 billion web pages behind them. So in actuality, as of a few years ago, we were at about 3 web pages per person connected to the Internet. That doesn't seem like it's very much. But when you think about the 550 times behind it, you realize how big this thing is. Now, what's changed most in the last 5 years is how you access that information. So IoT is the Internet of Things. First, it's the device you use to connect to the Internet. You all prefer your smartphone over a laptop. Maybe you prefer a tablet. I don't know, does anyone own a desktop computer anymore? There's a few. Horsepower, right? But that's the only reason. So the device you use is changing, and there are currently 26.3 billion network devices and connections. That number is projected to go over 100 billion. Now, if we're 7 billion people and 100 billion devices, does that mean that all of us are going to have 25 devices, 30 devices, 100 devices? No. What it means is that we'll talk about the Internet of Things in the context of how you as an individual connect and participate. But where this really blows up is when things start connecting to each other and they become autonomous in their behavior. They share information without anybody being involved. They make decisions about what to do with information without anybody being involved. And so as you think about that growth and change, the possibilities of what you could do with that are amazing and a little bit scary, which we'll definitely talk about in a minute. Everything is software-based. We all know about the cloud. We've all heard about the cloud. Can't watch a football game without hearing about the cloud through some commercial or another. Well, what does the cloud mean? The cloud means that software is in control of information flow. And storing information is no longer on the device itself, but somewhere else where you can access it from other places. We used to have a term in technology called sneakernet. Before we had Ethernet, we had sneakernet. Sneakernet was a person in a computer room taking a disk out of one computer, moving it over and putting it in another computer so that the computers had the same information. A sneakernet because they wore tennis shoes while they did it, right? So now, that storage is much more ubiquitous. And anyone can access storage anywhere. And you all have your iTunes account, your, your Amazon accounts, and different ways of accessing and storing information. There's pictures on your phone. There's pictures in places you didn't know they existed. You wish you had some of those pictures back. It's all cloud-based services and how that happens. And that drives data volume. And data volume is maybe the most amazing aspect to all this. Because we currently measure internet traffic in the petabytes. And we know what a petabyte is? All right, so you know what a megabyte is? That's right. So megabyte, gigabyte, terabyte, petabyte. Petabyte is 1,000 or 10 to the 18th terabytes, which is 10 to the power of 18 gigabytes. So think about that. We measure content in petabytes. So that is because all this different activity, all these web pages, all these interactions, all this stuff you're doing through social media every day and every hour is going and being stored, and being tracked, and being used in different ways. But yet, it's estimated that only half of 1% of data generated is actually analyzed. So we've been really good as a species to invent technology and have it generate information and push it to places that are interesting. We've been really poor at doing anything with it. But I promise you that's changing. It's changing very rapidly. How many of you knew that when you post a picture on Facebook, you no longer own that picture? Yeah, all you guys raise your hand. You don't care about privacy. All the adults are like, oh, man, I don't want to post any more pictures. I don't own that picture. And there's some generational aspects to this, but that type of usage and storage and access they're starting to use that in very creative and interesting ways. You ever visited a website and then 2 weeks later logged on your email account and got an advertisement for a competitor to the website you visited 2 weeks ago? How's that happen? Because they're tracking you. They're watching you. They're trying to figure out what you want to do, and they're trying to figure out how to sell you. But there's so much more information that's being generated that's not being used. And it's not about what we as people can look at and do anything with as that information. What can machines do with it? How can machines share information and make decisions on their own? And we get into aspects of artificial intelligence and machine learning and autonomous devices. And then we get into robots. Before the night, someone's going to ask me when are robots taking over the world? And I'll say, I don't know, but maybe they already have. And so all this stuff is connected to all these other aspects. And 10 years ago, you're all old enough for this, 10 years ago, you weren't thinking about this. You weren't thinking about what app to load in your smartphone. Just in that narrow piece of time, everything changed. Starting with smartphones, then the proliferation of applications, and then the cheap and easy access to the cloud. And then all of a sudden, all the stuff you start to buy in your life is somehow Wi-Fi enabled. And now all that Wi-Fi enabled stuff has its own application. And now those applications can share information with each other. So this is a bad example, but I can walk into my bathroom, I can stand on the scale, and it sends the information to my phone, and then the phone application sends it to my fitness application and tells me what I need to do for my next workout. If I followed any of that, I'd be in much better shape today. But the point is I can, not that I do. So this stuff all has happened in a very short window of time. You think about how long people have walked the earth. We're in this little tiny narrow window of humanity where everything has exploded. That's really exciting. And that's why I say I'm a passionate player in the Internet of Things. I don't have all the answers about where that's going, but I can't think of a better time to be thinking about those aspects. But the biggest thing is security. And what does security mean in this paradigm? What does security mean for business? What does security mean for financial services? What does security mean for healthcare? What does security mean for us as individuals? This current youth generation is growing up in a time where there's not a lot of concern about privacy. And us older folks in the room kind of scratch our heads about that. I go, why? How can you think like that? But at the same time, you're just thinking about the use and the access and what's important to you differently. How many friends do you have on Facebook? 100? 200? 300? 400? Anyone over 1,000 friends on Facebook? People raising their hands. I have a different term for friend than 1,000 people that I have had any interaction with. But think about this too. If in your generation, there is no reason in your lifetime why you will ever interact with another human being in a meaningful way and lose contact with them, ever. Most people don't grow up that way. Most people forget who they went to high school with. They forget who their teacher was in second grade. They forgot who their boyfriend was in third grade. Or girlfriend, or both. But you don't keep that information unless you're growing up in this generation where everything stays connected. But the security aspects, how we secure things, and have no mistake about it. Security does not mean how do we keep people out of doing bad things. That is not going to happen. Bad things are going to occur. Bad people will do bad things to other people. The question is, what can we do to minimize, protect, defend, and correct those issues as fast as possible? So we'll talk a little bit about that. It's going to hit everything. It's already hitting everything. By any estimation, digital disruption is going to affect every industry, and the average impact duration is about 3 years. 3 years from when it starts to creep in to when the entire industry is reformed. Now, certainly, technology, products and services are the first wave. Cisco's driving this. Cisco's heads down creating products and technology that enable this and make this happen and make it viable. Media and entertainment. You guys don't watch TV anymore. You watch YouTube. You don't watch TV in real time. You watch it on Netflix. You stream it. You get it from other sources. You get it from Hulu, not from ABC. That notion of connectivity and consumption is very different. Then into retail, into financial services, into telecommunications, into education, transportation, healthcare, manufacturing. All of these different verticals and industries within industries are transforming around technology. And you're starting to see it. Look at the commercials on TV. Past the pharmaceutical buy this drug commercial. I don't necessarily understand those, but any other commercial you see on TV is promoting the notion of technology enablement for business, for your interaction, for your consumption. So whatever you're studying in school today, whatever industry you want to work in, there's nursing students in this group, business students in this group, engineering students, software development, web design. All these different disciplines are being transformed by this specific wave of technology interaction. It's equivalent to the Industrial Revolution, and it's happening right now. The difference is it's not going to take 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. It's going to take 30 months or 40 months or 50 months. And in 10 years' time, those transitions will happen in weeks. From the invention of technology to the proliferation of technology use in weeks. Imagine that. Someone invents something, and it's in the hands of millions of people within weeks. That's interesting. 75% of businesses will be digital. Now, when you think about that, it's like, oh, 75%. All the companies I do business with have web pages. What do you mean they'll be digital? A vast majority of businesses in the world are small. They're individuals. It's the person running the food stand. It's the 3-person company providing a discrete service, a catering service to an office building. Most businesses are very small. And when you start to transform small businesses into digitization, then the spread becomes really, really big. So what's the impact? The impact, unfortunately, is that everything changes. Everything you know today will be different tomorrow. Some people get afraid of that. That's scary. I view it as, what a great opportunity. What a great opportunity to differentiate yourself, to differentiate your ideas, to participate in both creation and scale and impact in ways that were never possible before. But everything from the, everything's connected, everything's software-based, everything generates data, everything can be automated, and everything needs to be secured. Everything needs to be secured. The front door of your house has a lock. That lock can be controlled through a remote device, and it needs to be secured. The thermostat in your house can be remotely set. The water heater can be turned on and off. The garage door can be opened and closed from your iPhone, not just from the opener inside the car. Everything needs to be secured because everything is vulnerable to bad intention and attack. So let's look at a quick summary example of how everything changes and what that might look like in an Internet of Things scenario. Roll the video.
This is the cat that drank the milk and let in the dog that jumped on the woman who brewed the coffee.
Brew coffee.
That woke the man who was late for work.
All right, I gotta go.
And drove the car
driverless mode engaged.
that found the parking spot.
Find parking space.
Parking space found.
That alerted the door that opened the control room.
Hey, Bob.
That secured the data, that directed the turbines, that powered the sprinklers, that watered the grass, that fed the cow, that made the milk, that went to the store, that reminded the man to buy the milk, that was poured by the girl who loved the cat, that drank the milk. The Internet of Everything is changing everything. Cisco, tomorrow starts here.
The truth is that everything is changing in interaction. From the clothes you wear to the shoes you wear and how they interact with each other. This clothing, Athos Gear, and the associated app is measuring your muscle response to stimulus, like when you're working out, and telling you to lift your weights differently by what your clothes are telling the application. You're doing it wrong. I always do it wrong. Look at me. But it can help. And maybe I won't use this too. Who knows? Down to the shoes that Nike's come out with that read all the parameters of your movement and tell you how to run better, more efficiently, more effectively, and track your movement, track your steps, track your mileage and your speed and your improvement over time. And digital toilets. Who wants a digital toilet? What are you going to do with a digital toilet, Tony? So what's a digital toilet do? Well, it recognizes you when you walk in the room, and it automatically adjusts the seat height for your height, sets the seat temperature, the temperature you like, starts to pull off of Spotify, streaming your favorite music while you're sitting on the toilet. I don't know if it knows how long you're going to be there or not, but it might choose a song accordingly, I'm not sure. Blows warm air at your feet if the tile temperature is cold and it's wintertime, or blows cool air if the tile temperature is warm and it's summertime. There's some other things I want to describe in the room. I mean, if Al Bundy had one of these, he would have never left the room. It's a 90s reference for your instructors. Look that up. But that's funny. But now you're starting to see medical devices get implanted in toilets. That, as you use the bathroom, it's taking readings of your health. If you have diabetes, reading blood sugar level. through your experience in the toilet. Other issues, pancreatic issues, cancer issues, tracked and monitored based on what's happening in your bathroom habits. So the digital toilet and the streaming music thing is cute, but other things are starting to occur from this as well. A little different than peeing in the cup and putting the little strip agent in there. You've all peed in the cup. Don't act like I'm the only one. So everything starts to change. Now, I can sit here from my iPhone. I have an iPhone. I don't have an Android. I'm not going to debate it with you. I chose it. It's done. It is what it is. From this phone, at my house, I can control my thermostat. I can play any music I want to play in any room of the house. I can control the volume of that music. I can tell my water heater that I want to take a shower in an hour. It'll get more hot water to that section of the house because it's a long way from the water heater itself. I can control my garage doors. I can open and close the blinds on different windows in the house. I can do all that. So if my wife's, what time is it, 7 o'clock? She's going to see what can we do to my wife right now. I wonder how long it'll take her to call me if I turn the music in the living room really loud. You want to try? You want to try? I'm not going to do that to her because she will call and she will not be happy. But in a number of different applications that I have under home automation, I can control my television, what channel it's on, the volume level, different television, different rooms. I can control the wireless network and where access is given or not given to different people inside the house. I have all this stuff I can do, and this is not because I work for Cisco and I got all this cool tech in my house. This is just stuff that people have. If you build a house today, this kind of stuff comes with it. It's just happening very quickly. Oh, by the way, I can open and close and lock the doors. So that's all well and good, but what if instead of turning up the music volume, I was controlling oxygen levels? And what if instead of my house, it was a hospital? What if instead of my wife, it was premature babies in a NICU unit? Then the paradigm changes. Then we think about things differently. And so as we think about all of these things happening, we really have to focus on how people use technology, how technology interacts with other technology, and how we secure these things. Certainly at Cisco, security is one of our most important foundational aspects to everything we do. And fortunately, we've yet to be, I shouldn't say this kind of thing, I've never seen us in the news for having a really bad security problem inside of our business. But there's two kinds of businesses in the world. There's the kind of business that's been hacked, and there's the kind of business that doesn't know it's been hacked. That's all there is. Nobody's immune to it. And unfortunately, as I said before, there are some bad people in the world doing bad things, and none of you in the room are bad people, I'm sure. We'll see in 10 years if you show up on America's Most Wanted or mugshot somewhere. But we're going to give you the benefit of the doubt today. But when you add all these devices, and you add all this connectivity, and you add all this interaction, then things start to get very difficult. So what do you do to secure a temperature sensor that's talking to another temperature sensor 10 feet away, that's talking to an actuator 10 feet away, that's controlling a switch to turn on and off? What do you do to secure that? By the way, that type of network existed on the train system in Finland, and a young man hacked it, and in one day derailed 4 trains with a very low-level hack. No one died. 12 people got injured. So any number of these types of applications come with any number of challenges. We're not going to stop. If you want to secure it, there's an easy way to secure all of your connectivity devices. I'll tell you what it is. This is the biggest secret. The one way you can secure everything in your life. Turn it off. And that's the only way you can secure it. So what do? Do we turn it off? Do we run and hide? Do we put our heads in the sand and ignore it? Do we treat security like young people treat privacy? And just say, maybe, it won't happen to me. We can't do that. The stakes are high, and the implications are important. So what we do is we start to look at how we change the behavior of these devices, how they have intelligence about what they're doing, how they're able to say, well, I'm a temperature sensor, and I got told to send a signal that the temperature's now 55 degrees, but 3 minutes ago it was 25 degrees, and it's not possible for it to change that much, so I'm going to go ahead and wait and see what happens and ask a question instead of send that information. We change the behavior. We put intelligence in the device to act differently so that the peculiar situations that arise don't automatically affect the outcome. And then we get really good at monitoring what's happening across all of the technology, about monitoring what's going on. My garage doors, my wife's great, but man, she leaves those things open all the time. So I can just go on the app and say, if the door's been open for more than 5 minutes, close it. Because it's a physical security problem for my house. And this type of behavior is what we look at. All right. How do you play? I call myself a passionate player in the Internet of Things. How do you play in the Internet of Things? What can you do? Where do you want to go? What do you want to be in this technology shift paradigm? I said before that no matter what you're studying, or what you choose to study, technology is going to play a role. And not just technology, but different aspects of technology. Simplification, automation, security, analytics, continuous innovation, these things are going to happen. They're going to be part of everything that goes on. Your job, or your role, to be relevant, is to think through, what does that do? What is the implication to you in that scenario? If you don't think about it, all of you should play with programming. How many of you have ever taken a programming course? About half the room, and I'm guessing similar in the whole audience online. How many of you think programming is really hard and scary and I don't want to do it? All the teachers in the room, raise your hand. You've done harder things. You want to learn Python? You've done harder things. You took algebra? It's harder than Python. You took calculus? Much harder than Python. Learning some basic fundamentals of programming will help you understand what's happening in both the use and application of technology. And then electronics. How many of you have ever soldered anything onto a circuit board? About half the room. I imagine the same people that take the programming class. How many of you are afraid of a soldering iron and doing something on a circuit board? None of you are afraid. Go do it. Learn about electronics. Learn about capacitors, resistors, electricity use. Learn how not to plug the right battery into the unit and explode. My team is really good at this, and we blew up a conference room in San Jose 6 months ago. I just got to tell you, the paperwork was no fun. Because somebody made a mistake and plugged the wrong battery into the wrong charger, and boom. Very easy to do, not an IoT problem, but understanding something about electronics is important. Understand about data. Understand the data you're generating. Understand how data is used between things that are happening. Understand about some data science. What does the acquisition and analysis of data mean? Understand the use of that information and how you can apply it to what you're doing, whatever your job is. Is data unimportant to any industry? If nursing students, is data important? Understanding patient records, understanding patient history, understanding drug dosages. When was the last dosage given? How much? Is data important to manufacturing? What's the throughput? What's the speed? Where are the bottlenecks? What's the production line capacity? Is it important to financial services? You kind of like to know your account balance, right? We'd like the bank to mess up. If you don't have any money, you'd like the bank to mess up account balance more often. As you start to work and make money, you're pretty sure you don't want the bank to mess up your account balance. Data is very important in all industries. And then the last piece is networking. Not people networking, but connectivity. How do things connect? How do sensors connect in networks? How does your iPhone connect to your scale telling you need to lose weight? How does telling me I need to lose weight, none of you. How does your garage door connect to your thermostat? How does your refrigerator talk to your stove? How does your car self-navigate? These are all done through networks. And if you just get a little bit of knowledge in these areas, you start to understand how the world starts to operate around whatever your area of focus is. I promise you, you will have very important relevance in the job marketplace and what people are looking for. But you will maintain that relevance through this transition and evolution of technology. And that is probably one of the hardest things to do. It's not to learn. Learning is easy. You do it every day. We all do it every day. But learning the right things and being relevant is increasingly more difficult with all this technology change. But as I said before, you've done harder things, and you can do this. And this is estimated to be a $19 trillion industry about technology application and the Internet of Things. And it's the interaction of people and processes with data and things. That intersection is what IoT is about. And that intersection of people and process of data and things and how those things interwork in your life, in your job, and for the company you work for, and for your children when you have them, and all that stuff is really what is going to drive the ability for us as humans and humanity. It makes the world very small. When you start to connect people around the world and start to give them access to information and technology, the world gets small. And the world gets small, our problems get smaller. We start to be able to address things in new and innovative ways, applying greater human capital and resource to solving problems. And maybe someday, with all this technology, maybe humans don't starve to death. Maybe people have access to water. Maybe youth unemployment is not such a big factor. Maybe we can start to make the world the better place we're trying to make. That's the opportunity I think we all have. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. That's why I hope you'll take a look at this and start to apply it where it makes sense for you in your life.